Okay, well, hello to youth ministry. I always call it youth ministry land. Youth ministry people? What do we call it? St. John Newman? Pray for us. Hello to all of you who are watching this delightful video for a very female version of Truth Bombs with the Saints. Go girls, go girls. Go. Okay, I shouldn't say girls, should I? Go women, go women. But we're not going to talk about a female saint, so it's okay. The saint we are going to talk about today is St Anselm, which is an interesting name. Ariel, you can name your first son Anselm, okay?
Okay.
Okay. I actually think maybe Disney should use it for a prince name. It sounds like a prince name, doesn't it?
Kind of.
Kind of does. Okay, so today we have with us Abby Albrink, Youth Ministry Volunteer Extraordinary, happens to also be my daughter. We have Miss Sarah Meeker with us, another Youth Ministry Volunteer Extraordinaire. Math teacher has just discovered that she will be teaching virtually the rest of the school year. Woo! It's really not that great. And we have today our first high school contestant, Miss Ariel Swanson, who goes to Roger Bacon High School. Oh, are you sophomore now?
Yes.
Sophomore. Okay, good thing I didn't say junior. I was almost saying no, sophomore, but sophomore in
I mean,
high
at this point, you might as well call her a junior. It's not like we're going back to school this year.
True.
It's summer now.
True. So we roped Miss Ariel into this, so I'm happy that she could join us. So today I just wanted to start the way that we always do and have each of us share a little favorite thing. It's not really he's not a well-known saint. He probably should be because he's a doctor of the church, but none of you knew anything about him, did you? Before we looked? Okay. So it was a good reading for us.
I also couldn't tell you who the doctors of the church are, so.
Yeah.
I know one or two, but I'd have to really
But
think
aren't there
about
like
it.
33?
There's a lot. Yeah. We
Yeah.
should probably look that up.
One.
And there are female ones. That is true. We do have
7 females, I think.
I don't know, Sarah, you Google while I talk to Abby. How about that?
Okay.
She's going to Google while we talk to Abby. Okay, Abby, what's your favorite thing about St. Anselm that you found out today?
So when Anselm was alive, he kind of got into a bunch of arguments with the king at the time. It was one of the Henrys. I don't remember which one it was. But basically the king was like, since I'm the king, I get to appoint all of the bishops. And Anselm was like, yeah, no, that's not allowed. And then he kept getting exiled to Rome. And most of us would just give up. But Anselm was like, no, I'm sticking with this. That is not right. Which I just thought was funny because I'm very stubborn. And I liked hearing about this. Thanks.
So what's interesting about that, Abby, is that he's described as mild-mannered. And so he was mild-mannered and yet stubborn. So you can be stubborn and not be obnoxious about it. Right, which I kind of like about him. So you can still stand for you can still stand up for things and not be obnoxious about it. So that's a good thing to know about this saint. Okay, Sarah, what'd you find out about the doctors?
I was wrong. There's 4 females.
4 females, and how many total?
33.
33. Okay, there you go. 33 doctors of the church.
36. That has changed recently.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, four women and 36 or 32 men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're represented in there just a little bit, so that's good. Okay, Sarah, favorite thing you found out about St. Anselm?
I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff, but I just happened to notice as scanning through, because, you know, with every saint, there's always dates associated with them and birthdays and when they were sainted and blah, blah, blah. But he was consecrated a priest on the 4th of December. And if any of you know Father Kyle's birthday, it's the 4th of December. So I just thought that was kind of a funny coincidence.
It's a fun thing to know.
Yeah.
It is a fun thing to know. Oh, and I guess we should note, Abby, you were talking about England. He was in England and he was the Archbishop of Canterbury. So he was in that area of the world, just to let you know. And it was, I forget what year. I know it's in here somewhere.
The 10s.
The 10s.
He was born in 1033.
Yeah, 1033. So this is the era that we're talking about. Okay, Miss Ariel, what'd you find out that you liked?
I thought it was cool that he wanted to go into the monastery when he was 15, which is younger than I am now. And he got rejected and then fell out of his faith for like a decade.
And he wrote about that when he was older, how much he really regretted doing that. But those are my favorite stories, because young people, when we talk about saints, so many times they assume they were holy from the day they were born on. Most saints, there's a lot of them that were not holy from the first day on.
So holy, yes.
They have fantastic stories. So again, that's definitely for me a great youth ministry point for Anselm. I also thought it was interesting too. I loved the standing up to the king, Abby. I really loved that about fighting for the church. He was the one who established the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in the Western Church, which is just amazing to me. So he obviously had a real devotion to Mary. He also defined theology. He was the person who used the phrase faith seeking understanding. When you go to college and you take intro to theology, that's the definition you learn. And yeah, never knew it was from him. Abby, I assume these books that he wrote, one of these was the one you tried to read in class?
It was Cur Deus Homo.
Oh, it wasn't one of these, but he did a lot of philosophy work. He rationalized the proof of God's existence. So don't argue with them when you're an atheist. I think you'd lose. He was really young when he was made the prior of that monastery. I mean, obviously he started young. He was made an abbot. He was only 45 years old when he was abbot of the monastery, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and I loved that he was banished and kept coming back. Oh, the other thing that I loved was he opposed the slave trade. He worked a lot with the poorest of people, and he obtained from the National Council at Westminster the passage of a resolution prohibiting the sale of human beings. So quite the human rights worker as well. So obviously he was quite the man, the bishop and doctor.
I also love that the king that he really kind of opposed and had conflicts with, William, at one point is quoted as saying of Anselm, "I hated him before, I hate him now, and shall hate him still more hereafter." Like, that's pretty epic. You tick the king off when he will say that. I'm just saying.
He didn't like him. I think that's the summary, right?
Right.
Like
No, I think they were besties.
Definitely not besties. This is Abby. There's also that when he was a little boy, did you guys read about the vision he had when he was a little boy?
Mm-mm.
He had this vision that he was called to the court of God. And when he went up on the mountain, he fell and sat at the feet of his master. And God talked to him. And Anselm must have done well because he offered him the sweet bread of heaven, is what he said. And he actually recalled that story to another monk, and they wrote about it and wrote it down for his biography. And the person who wrote about this in particular talked about how Anselm was always high and close to God in so many ways, that his writing was really close to heaven, that he had such a deep understanding of it, and that he stayed up in the heavens with his writings and his work. So I thought that was really cool. I'm sorry, I did not have a vision like that when I was 8 or 9 years old. So did any of you? Just asking.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, let's play a little truth bombs. Abby, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Describe what you think the sound of his voice would be in one word.
This isn't one word, but I just kind of picture him as like having that like droning voice of like an older professor because he's so smart.
Yes, I agree. Probably one you might fall asleep in his class because you had no idea what he was talking about.
I'd have visions, so not all bad.
Not all bad. He would definitely be a professor that you would not appreciate until you were out of college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just one of those guys that you're like, oh, now I get it, 20
He
years
was
later.
smart.
Yeah, he's smart.
Who knew?
I bet he would grade tests really hard too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Miss Sarah,
oh.
if he were a sauce, what sauce would he be?
A sauce.
Yes. I mean, is he spicy or is he
No.
cheesy?
No. I mean, we're talking about an old, really intelligent guy. I don't
Wasn't always old, Sarah.
Oh, but but that's just the vision I have in my head, and I'm looking at a picture of him too. He's old. I don't know. I think he'd just be like, it would be simple, like gravy.
I'm wondering if it would be
Like
something.
olive oil or something.
Well, because the whole monk life, I mean, he's not going to be some really exciting. They lived pretty simple lives. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe something like beef or chicken broth.
I mean, we could go with au jus since he was in France quite a bit.
That's true. He was banished. Oh, can you imagine someone saying to you someday, Sarah, to me, you're just like a broth.
Right. So exciting.
Ooh.
Okay, Miss Ariel, if St. Anselm had a cell phone in his time, who would he have last messaged and why?
I think he probably would have messaged, who was it, William, that banished him? Because, I don't know.
Just be like, I'm still right.
I'm still alive.
I'm still here.
Haters gonna hate. Oh.
Maybe a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's good. That was kind of where I was going with it. Like, it's got to be the king,
Oh yeah.
Here you go, Abigail.
Oh no.
What should the hobby section of his profile page say? What kind of hobbies do you think he would have had?
Mhm. Talking to what's his name, the king, making him angry. That would probably be number one hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Probably having visions and writing and reading.
Reading, yeah, writing and reading.
Smart people stuff.
Smart, smart people stuff. I feel like he'd have something kind of, oops, that was my alarm going off to remind us to do this. I could see him sneak in some weird hobby too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Making
Stones, broth. Stones from different buildings that he observed or slept at. He'd like take a stone with him, or I could just see him do something weird just because he's a smarty pants, huh? Okay, I just called a saint smarty pants. So I'm going.
I feel like he's the one to do that too.
What'd you say, Ebs?
I said I feel like he's a saint to call us smarty pants.
If there's anyone you can call smarty pants, I would say yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah. If St. Anselm had a superpower, what do you think it would be? And why? You always have to say why.
Superpower. What would his superpower be? I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is a superpower because, it's one I have. Teaching.
Oh, yes.
Because he was a teacher. I mean, that's,
And there are people who really can't do it.
Oh, fact.
Yeah. Fact
So I'm
for
going to go
sure.
with teaching because, he did it a lot.
He did do it a lot. I'm sure he was a constant teacher. And they
Mhm.
were probably, it was just obnoxious, I'm sure, too, a little bit. But, I mean, just the faith.
Old voice.
Let's be honest. His definition of theology doesn't even make sense. Theology is faith-seeking understanding. You kind of go in all sorts of directions with that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll be honest. I read one of his books for my theology class, and I fell asleep not only when I was reading it, but also when my theology professor was trying to explain it to us. So,
wow. Wow.
whoops. Sorry, Father Straub, if you're watching this.
Hopefully our reach is not quite that strong. Okay, Ariel. If St. Anselm had kept a locket, whose photo would be inside of it?
William.
You don't have to like everybody, but you do have to love them, right? So he'd have a little picture of him around his neck. Yeah.
I think it would be his mom.
Oh, his mom died when he was young, too.
Or Mama Mary.
Or Mama Mary.
Maybe his mom and Mama Mary.
Both, on both sides.
Yeah.
I could also see if it was the king, Ariel, would he have the eyes blacked out? I'm sorry.
The big red X through it.
Okay, I found this one and I feel like we should answer this one as a group. Finish this poem about St. Anselm. Roses are red, violets are blue.
The king wants me dead. Let's see.
Hold on, pause. I need to tell the men of our house to be quiet.
Okay, you can do that. I'm along the lines to roses are red, violets are blue, banish me far, but I will still think about you. Sorry.
And I won't be blue.
Oh, banish me far and I still won't be blue?
Yep.
That's true. I think we have to do this as directed to the king, right? Roses are red, violets are blue, banish me far, but I will still think about you. Still, it would be pretty.
I will still disagree with you.
You would disagree?
I said he would still disagree with the king. Banish me far, and I'll still disagree with you.
True. That's another good one. Yeah,
good.
absolutely. I like that. Okay, Abby. I'm gonna make you stretch your imagination. Look at the look on her face.
This is a chemistry test. Brain doesn't work.
I know your brain's not working, so this is gonna stretch you just a little bit. If they had a signature dance move, what would it be called? What would it look like, and what would it be called?
I feel like it'd be like some sort of walk, and then it'd be like him walking back from exile. But I don't know how to creatively name that. I feel like that's what it would be. Marching back to England.
The Return or something.
The Return.
The Return. The famous Return.
Return of the Exile.
Return of the Exile. There you go. It's like Return of the Jedi, but it's Return of the Exile. So we could just make sure, your question was just, what would they name a movie? We'll just change it. It's not a dance move. It's a movie now. Return of the Exile. There. Definitely. I could even edit that out and make it that.
You've gotten
I
so
won't,
good at
though.
this during quarantine.
There you go. There you go. Okay, Sarah. This is a hard one. I think we've had this one about another saint, and I think it's so hard to think, uh-oh, someone's trying to enter Ariel's space. Womp, womp, womp. Sarah, what is one thing St. Anselm would want to save from a fire?
Ooh.
I mean, he's a saint, so I think that's what makes it so hard, because you think that saintly people would be unattached to worldly things, but they're still human. There's got to be something.
The locket with his mom in it.
I was actually thinking the locket, the aforementioned locket would be taken out of the
Totally
fire.
just made up. It doesn't exist. But
It doesn't
that's what
exist.
it
Go
is.
St. William, guys.
I mean, they didn't even have pictures in 1033.
No, not at all. But we also just said he had a cell phone, so this is just made up.
Fine.
It's all made up, but the points don't matter.
There you go.
There you go. I could see him though, Sarah, want to, just because we're not talking about computer age, when he wrote, wouldn't he want to grab his most recent manuscript of something he was writing?
Yeah, I would think so.
I could see him, even though he's probably so smart, he has it all here.
Yeah. But I could see that.
But I don't really, he was pretty unattached to things, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're banished constantly, you can't have a lot of stuff.
Right. It's hard to carry
Hard to carry on your muscle.
country multiple times.
Oh.
Pretty simple life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here's a good one, Ariel. Stretch your imagination. Ready? Sarah got this one for Mary, so I remember. If St. Anselm were a can of paint, what would the color be called?
Oh. Oh, I don't know. What would his color be called? Can I just call it Anselm? That sounds like a color.
It actually does. What color would that be? Green, black, blue?
Red. He was a bishop.
Oh, he was a bishop, a red. Red would be good, yeah. Anselm red, it could just be that.
Mm.
You know, because sometimes you go to the paint store and you're like, who is this? They just used their granddaughter's name and named it, you know.
Right.
Yeah. I was also thinking we could go with banished blue.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I like Anselm red, and it would probably be a pretty amazing red color. So because bishop red is pretty amazing. I was trying to think in here if we could find anything about a mitre hat. Oh, mitre mustard. You know, but Sarah's just giving me a look. She's saying, move on, Becky, move on.
You're done. And
I'm
that's
done.
I actually was, so in his, like, he's always attributed with a mitre, a pallium, and a crozier.
Because he fought for those things, the rights of those.
And there's somewhere in something that I read, one of the things that he was like known for was addressing how priests should dress.
Oh,
Now.
interesting. Yeah, I didn't see anything about that. Huh. Yeah,
Find it.
yeah. Now I'm curious about that. Because I didn't see anything about that. But yeah, though it would make sense. I think his whole fight with England was the power comes not from the government, doesn't get to give the bishops the power and doesn't get to appoint them.
Right.
So the government doesn't get to give the mitre, doesn't get to give the crozier. That's all from the church, right? Which is so interesting. And it makes you appreciate today, we don't deal with that kind of stuff. We don't have the government versus religion, generally speaking.
I mean, big part of what he was doing was trying to separate the church from the English crown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Here it is. What council was this?
Ooh.
General Church Council in London in 1102. The council prohibited marriage, concubinage, and drunkenness to all those in holy orders, condemned sodomy, and regulated clerical dress. So he was a big part of that council.
Huh.
Apparently.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Fun things to know every day.
Fun
For sure.
facts.
Fun facts. Huh. So interesting.
Brought to you by-
Okay. Abigail, here's your next question. You ready? What thought goes through his mind at least once a day?
I'm right and William's wrong.
Now he's a saint, Abby. He's not petty.
God's right and William's wrong. There.
There you go. God's right and William's wrong. Yes. I think at one point he had to keep telling William that Urban was the Pope too. Like
He did, yeah.
you know, he is the Pope. You got to respect that office. Oh goodness gracious. Okay. That was good, Abs. There you go. Miss Sarah, what would
Yeah.
you buy him in a Secret Santa?
What would I buy him in a Secret Santa? Let's see. What would I buy him in a Secret Santa? We have to keep going with the hate William theme here.
I was gonna go with the locket.
A dartboard with William's face on it?
Oh! Now again, Sarah, he's a saint.
He wasn't always a saint. I'm sure at some point he wanted to throw darts at William's head. Sorry, Anselm.
Yeah, true. I was also thinking you could go practical and do parchment and quills.
Oh yeah, because he was a writer. Blah blah blah. That's no fun.
Walking shoes for all of the times he was exiled.
Yeah,
Walking shoes.
there you
Oh.
go.
Yeah, little lifts for his shoes, the little Dr. Scholl's cushiony things, you know, for when he has to come back. That would be cool too, for sure. Okay, very impressed with the answers, ladies. Okay, Miss Ariel. If he was a kind of weather, what kind of weather would he be? Good old St. Anselm.
Partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy. That is brilliant because he's probably doing okay until he had to think about William and instructions. He probably had sunny moments when he was writing and thinking, and then all the stuff he didn't really want to do. He was another one who just didn't even want to be archbishop. You know, we read that several of the saints that we've covered did not want to be, you know, in charge of the monastery, did not want to be the abbot, did not want to be the archbishop.
If you want to be the archbishop, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one really wants to be the archbishop, right? Okay. One more round. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can't use this question. If they started a religion, what would it be called? That don't work.
Catholicism.
And next.
Let's see. Oh, Abby, this is a good one.
Oh no.
What skill does he absolutely not possess? Possess. How do you say the word possess?
What skill?
Yeah. What skill does he absolutely not have? Hmm.
Hmm. Using technology. It's gonna take the cop out.
That's true. He would not know how to use technology. Have you ever discovered that sometimes really smart people don't know how to do the simple things like wash clothes or make a meal? He probably had people doing that for him, and so I could just see him be one of those, don't come in the kitchen, just don't do it. He probably cut off his thumb because he was thinking too much about God. And Sarah's got a really serious look on her face right now. Very serious.
Just hiding my double chin, Becky. You had to point it out.
Oh, okay, Miss Sarah. If St. Anselm could have any animal as a pet, what kind of pet would he get?
An aardvark?
Why an aardvark?
Because Anselm's aardvark sounds fun.
Anselm's aardvark.
I like
Sounds like-
alliteration. I don't know.
It sounds like if you say Anselm's aardvark, it almost sounds like a roller coaster ride. I don't know why.
See?
Yeah, well, Anselm's I was thinking a horse to ride back on Exile.
Oh yeah, that's practical. Again,
of course.
I'll keep going with the practical stuff, and I'm going with the
I'm
answer.
doing a lot of practical stuff today.
So how would a horse help him? England's an island. He was always
And
like,
he was going to France. You're not wrong. Hopefully,
he has a horse like Elsa.
maybe a dolphin.
A Loch Ness monster? Is the Loch Ness
whale.
monster? Where's that?
That's in Scotland.
Oh.
But Scotland on the same thing, right?
I mean, they are on the same island, but the Loch Ness monster is in a lake in Scotland. How do you get it out of the lake into the English?
He's a saint. He can do whatever he wants.
The Loch Ness monster's baby is out in the ocean. You just don't know this. That's right.
Ah, I see. Now you're
And he could just grab onto his neck and swim. Anyway. Think of how much easier his voyage would have been. Okay, I'm sorry. When you see the size of what ships were back in that era, like when you think of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, which is even later than this, these are little ships. They must have been so seasick, taking these voyages because those boats just weren't.
I feel like seasickness was probably the least of their worries.
Dying.
Dying of the
Shipwreck.
plague.
Yeah.
Not much has changed then because we have the plague here too. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Spit that out, Mom. No one needs that.
Well, Ariel, for your last question, in a word, describe the way Saint Anselm would hug.
Bony. Imagine very skinny, very bony.
And I could see him be like, not quite know how. Yeah. Have you ever hugged someone like that and you're going, and then they just kind of pat you and run away? So.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're smarticles, that sometimes is what happens. So I agree. Could be bony, a little uncomfortable, a little weird. Okay, let's do this last one together before we wrap up. If you did not know who he was and you just met him just by his actions when he walked into a room, what do you think his name would be? Just saw him come into party.
Some really nerdy name.
Really nerdy name? I think Anselm is pretty nerdy.
Yeah, like Arnold or something.
So,
Arnold. What'd you say, Sarah?
So Kyle?
I was gonna say that too. Scott.
Scott, there you go. Steven. Yeah, we could go with all sorts of good ones. Yeah. Oh, who's someone on Big Bang Theory? What are the characters?
Sheldon?
He would be a Sheldon.
Sheldon.
He would totally be a Sheldon. Oh, okay. That
was St. Sheldon.
St. Sheldon. Sarah's got 2 screens in front of her now, so she can do all this. She can type, she can Google, she can still see our faces.
I'm typing on the screen up there. Y'all are looking up my nose. I'm sorry.
Is there a St. Sheldon? That's your good question.
I don't think so.
It doesn't look like it.
No, that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. That would be a fun one to learn about. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you're the audience who's been so patiently coming through this wonderful episode with us. We are about to wrap up Truth Bombs with the Saints. Tomorrow's episode, I think that makes it tomorrow. Oh no, in 2 days. So on Thursday's episode is St. George, who was a martyr. And we have 2 priests joining us for this episode, so I'm sure it will be epic. And I want to apologize. I had promised a Truth Bombs with the Saints with the Trinity, and it did not get recorded last week. I actually didn't feel good. Maybe it was the Rona, but I don't think it was. I just didn't feel 100% last week, so it didn't happen. So we have an extra episode at some point we can record on the Trinity. Sarah, that was your idea, so we could do that sometime.
That was a brilliant idea. You didn't follow through. I'm just kidding.
Sarah, Catherine Meeker. We did the other one though, and it was so great. Your two saints and a not saint. Yeah. Judas and John, and it was good. That was a great episode too. So.
The denier and the beloved.
That's right. That's right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all real soon for St. George. See you later. Bye now.
Bye.
Everybody wave. Say goodbye. Goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye now.